Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending upon when you're listening to this recording. Welcome to today's webinar titled Creative Methods for Finding Jobs, subtitled Fishing for Jobs Requires a Personalized Net. Interesting, isn't it? We're glad to have you with us today. My name is Brian Allen. I am a senior consultant with Career Management Partners, and it'll be my pleasure to be your host as we explore this interesting topic. Are there more than one way to look for a job? Is there more than one way to find a fish? We're going to be kind of using those analogies together to help you figure out that maybe the way you're looking for work is not the only way, and there may be some other ways that could perhaps make your search more effective. And that's our goal, of course, is to help you land that next job as soon as you can. We're so glad to have you with us today, and let's go ahead and proceed, if we will. Here's what we are planning to cover today. We're going to be talking a lot about these tools that are built into Career Workspace, and actually I will be toggling over into that site to show you some things, as well as coming back to the presentation slides to show you some other things. We'll be exploring how to look for work online with our Career Workspace so that you can do it effectively and efficiently rather than waste a lot of time looking for fish that you really don't want, let's say. We'll be playing with some creative methods, some other ways to add variety and perhaps more effectiveness to your job search rather than what you perhaps are only doing now. And as with all of our webinars, we will recap the key points at the end of the presentation. So we're going to be using this fish analogy, and we like to often start webinars with words of wisdom. So think about fishing, and the reality is the fish you desire is waiting for you to claim it. And that's very much like what's happening with your job search. The job that you want is waiting for you to claim it. You may just have to be creative in the way that you find it, just like a fisherman does. Now, I would not claim to be a fisherman by any chance. I mean, currently I have no fishing equipment in my garage, so I guess I can't claim to be one if I don't have the equipment. But I have fished before, and I kind of understand the basics that, you have to go to a place where the fish are. And you have to put something in there that's attractive to the fish, and hopefully then they grab your line and you're able to bring them in. Job search is not unlike that, is it? You have to go where the jobs are, and you have to put something in there that makes it attractive to the employer, known as the fish, to snap at you or to grab your bait, your resume, your LinkedIn profile, whatever that might be, so that you can land one another. That next job when you and the company connected together is called a landing. That's like reeling in the fish, is reeling in the job. So there's some similarities there. Maybe that's a bit of a stretch, I understand, for some people, but we're going to go with that today, if you don't mind. What we hope you walk away with, having attended today's session, is to better leverage your power over the job posting boards. And you may not feel like you have much power over anything in a transition time like this. That's very understandable. But you may have more power than you realize, and we're going to show you some examples of how to demonstrate that. We'll be actually playing live in the Career Workspace website itself, and hopefully you'll be able to duplicate that experiment in your own system, either while the webinar's going on or after it's over. But overall, we hope to open up your idea to what other choices there are, what other resources there may be available to you right now to enhance your job search. And hopefully then to give you the feeling that you're being more effective and more productive in your job search. So we're talking about this casting a personalized net, using the fish analogy again. Instead of a pole, now we're using a net. There are many different ways to find jobs. The most successful job search, as it says, will incorporate several different strategies, not just one. You may not know that there were other strategies. Well, stay tuned. And when you limit yourself to the same search selectors over and over, you may not catch the best fit job postings for you. So cast a personalized net. What does that look like? Well, we'll get into that. There are as many different fish out there in the sea as there are jobs in the marketplace. What kind of job really are you looking for, or what are you fishing for? And maybe when you see a good fit or a best fit job on the internet for you, everybody else is also seeing that. And perhaps you need to be creative in the ways that you are able to catch that job or to attract that particular job to find you. We'll be talking about that. Maybe you have to try a different bait, play with your choices, and know your options. So Career Workspace, which is the web portal that you have access to while you are a client of ours, has a number of things built into it that we want to help you learn about. So if you want to, you may want to jump over to another window in your computer, open up a browser and open up a new tab and then log into the Career Workspace. When you get there, when you sign in, it takes you to the dashboard, of course. Look for the word Jobs. When you click on that, there's two choices. Select the Job Search. And when you do that, you'll see something that looks like this. And I know this is small on the screen, but I'm going to jump over to the real side here in a moment. But this is the Job Search tool, and there's two sections. There's a Find Job section here at the top, and then there's a When and Where section down here at the bottom. Okay, let's take a little closer look and see what that really looks like. Let me jump over to Career Workspace here for a moment. Okay, now I'm in the dashboard, and I'm going to select the word Jobs, and from this drop-down menu, I'm going to select Job Search, and that brings me to this page. And if I scroll down now, I see that what we showed on the previous slide. This is where you're going to automate your job search for openings that are on the internet. You're going to tell the Career Workspace computer system what kinds of words you would be looking for in those jobs that you are interested in and are qualified for. You really need to have both of those criteria met for it to be worth your while. So you're going to describe in words, and these white boxes here are where you're going to plug in those words that tells the system what to go out to the internet and look for. Now there's all kinds of boxes. I don't want to take take too much time to demonstrate this because frankly, there is an entire webinar devoted to just this tool and how to use it effectively. It's called, oh my goodness, the title of it just escaped me. Automating Your Job Search Through Career Workspace, I believe is what it's called. Anyway, that's a separate webinar just on this, but I wanted to make sure you were aware that this is here in case you have not yet attended that webinar. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to tell the system with just a few words. I want to not put in too much detail because I do not want to get a very specific job list at first. I want to get a broad job list and then start narrowing it down. So I'm going to only put in a few words in order to describe what I'm looking for. And then down here, I'm going to put in some geographic characteristics to say how far away from where I live I would be willing to commute to get the job. Now, for my demonstration, I'm going to go back to my previous life. And before I became a career coach, I was involved in the training and development world. So I'm going to type in those words, training, and I'm going to put comma. Then I'm going to put development. Now that's all I'm going to put. Now you notice I separate them with commas. If I didn't separate, I would look for them together, and I don't necessarily need to have them together. I can look for either one of them. I may also want to put an exact phrase in, and for my situation, the kind of training development I'd be interested in is what is known as facilitation, because that's something I've done a lot of and really enjoyed doing that. So I'm going to put in I could put in facilitation or facilitator. I'm choosing facilitator here. I don't have to fill in all of these boxes, however, but they do allow me to be very specific if I want to narrow down my search. But at this point, while I'm starting, I want to be broad, not narrow. So I'm not going to put in certain words that I want at least one of or none of, or words in the title or from a company or any of these other things. I mean, I could actually, as I get more sophisticated, have the system only look for full-time or only look for part-time. Right now I'm going to leave it with all job types. I can tell the system look only for jobs that are posted by an employer or jobs that also are posted by recruiters. And I'm going to leave it for both. I could tell the system look only on websites, on job boards such as Monster, Indeed, Career Builder, those sorts of things, or only on employer websites. But again, I'm going to leave it to the default of all. I want it to show me those jobs in order by how closely they meet my criteria, or I could also say the jobs could be listed by date. So but I'm going to leave all those things the way they are. Now, the bottom part, the when and where, I could look for work in other countries if I wanted to. That drop-down list shows me I could go to work. How about in Romania or Qatar or Peru? Well, let's stay in the United States, shall we? That's what's going to work for me. I'm probably sure for you as well. Here's where I want to say how far away I'd be willing to commute. And there's a lot of choices from 0 up to 100 miles of a particular point. It kind of defaults to 25. I'm going to leave it there. But the point from which it measures that distance is a city or state, or better, a zip code. And so I'm going to put in my own zip code, 75263, 75063, I should say. And I'm going to look at a job no matter how old, how long it's been on the internet. I'm going to look at it. So now this is the only criteria I'm putting in here. I just want to review real quickly with you. I'm telling the system, look for job postings that are on the internet right now, that anywhere in their posting has the words training and or development in the posting, but that has the phrase facilitator also, and have it be within 25 miles of this particular zip code. That's all the criteria I'm putting in here. Now notice how quickly it responds. I'm going to do a countdown and hit Find Jobs button here. Ready? 3, 2, 1, click. Round and round. Oh, boom, here we go. Got a response, and it tells me, sorry, I don't need to see that. It tells me we've got 46 jobs that came back. By the way, the 75063 is the Dallas-Fort Worth area where I live. Okay, so here is a list of jobs that are current on the internet right now, all of which have the words training and the word development and the word facilitator in it that are within 25 miles of that zip code. Pretty neat, right? And if, of course, if I wanted to, I could look at the posting itself by clicking on the title, and it would jump into, in this case, where the job came from Indeed. I could learn more about the job. I could actually click on this to apply. By the way, when you click on apply to job, it jumps you into the website where that job was actually found. The company, that's where it is. And I could apply there. I'm going to back out of this, however. Oop, I went too far. Here we go. Okay, so I can look at these job titles, and it gives me the job. It gives me the first line of the description of the job. It shows me when the job was posted. Here's one that's been on here since June for Tesla Motors. They may be looking very carefully. Over here, it tells me the city that the job is actually located in, and then there's these 3 buttons. This blue button is where you can connect with your own network inside of LinkedIn to see who you know that's connected in any way to this company. It could be a marvelous way for you to network your way into an introduction to someone in that company who could take your resume and put it on the top of the stack rather than getting buried anywhere else in there. There is a little button here a chart that you can click on that would access a salary calculator powered by payscale.com, which is a resource that you may need to be familiar with, where it doesn't tell you exactly what every job in the world pays, but it does report the results of salary surveys that many organizations, including professional groups or trade associations or government bodies, will do. They'll do surveys of their members, or surveys of a certain industry, to determine what the going rate is, and then they make that information available through websites like PayScale. So it looks at it for a similar title in the geographic area, and it kind of lets you know that the range of pay for this kind of job, roughly, generically, is from the low 40s to the low 60s. Okay. Now, that doesn't mean that that's exactly what Molina Healthcare is paying, but chances are Molina Healthcare has looked at something like this to determine what the going rate is, to determine what they want to pay. This is a great tool to be able to help you to negotiate the job offers, or to handle that question in an interview. What are your salary expectations? This gives you some insight. And then this last button is if I come across a job that I want to really look at closer, I don't have to look at it right now. I can just click on the Save button, and then it will hold on to that job for me. Now, this is a list of, 46 jobs. That may be more jobs than I'm really able to manage well. So I'm going to kind of scroll down and look at some of the titles that are here, because it's interesting that when you put the words training and development, you get all sorts of things. See right here, the words training and development shows up in the listing for this job, but this job's title is instructional designer. Well, now that's somebody who creates the training product that then a facilitator might lead in the classroom. I am more interested in the classroom experience than the designing experience. So really, the word designer is a word that I want to now cast out of the next search that I do. And there may be some other words that I might want to cast out. And I found one down here. Okay, agile or scrum. Those are software and system processing, and I'm not sure exactly what they do. Maybe you do, but that's not something I want to get involved in. And here's another word, lean. Those words are process-oriented kind of training program. That's not what I want to do. Therefore, I do not need to look at jobs that require that. So I'm going to go in and improve my search by adding these words to my original, and I don't have to start all over. Scroll up here to the top. There's a number of buttons here. I could start all over if I wanted to by clicking on New Search, but really I don't want to start a new search. What I want to do is refine my existing search. I'm going to click on that Refine Search button. It brings me right back to the original page. It's still showing the words that I put in. But now I can go down here and say none of these words. And I can put curriculum. Oh, actually, here's one I've done before. Agile, Scrum, curriculum, all those words are words that show up in job postings on this search that I really do not have an interest in. So I'm going to say, don't bring me jobs that have these words in them. So let's leave everything else the same. I'm going to click on Find Jobs again. So now what I'm doing, I'm taking a broad search and I'm refining it and making it a little bit more selective and seeing how many jobs come back. So let's go ahead and click Find Jobs. Didn't do it. There it goes. And it comes back and it tells me now instead of 46, thank you, instead of 46, there are 27 jobs. But these jobs are more in line with what I really want to do. You see? That's how you can use the system to help provide you a list of jobs. Now, what do we do with this list? Well, we can apply. I've shown you how to do that. Or we can save these and maybe at the end of the week apply to all of them. We may want to do some more research on them, whatever. But this list, however, it's coming to me. It's almost like the fish are jumping into the boat. And I don't have to waste my time surfing the internet discarding jobs that I'm not interested in or qualified for. I'm letting the system do it for me and saving myself precious time to be better used in other ways. So that's what this online search tool is about. All right, now hopefully you'll get a chance to play around with that. And again, if you have not yet attended the Accelerating Job Search through Career Workspace webinar, I would strongly encourage you to do that. But this is for your traditional kind of search. This is your, throwing your hook into the lake where you know fish are, but you could find that there's so many fish that none of them are biting. Who knows? So start your job postings by putting in your ideal title and location. You may add some things. You may put something else in there, a particular title, a particular location. You get a list and then you narrow down that list so that you can, or you could expand the geographic area if you wanted to get a bigger list on there. You could have say, instead of 25 miles, show me jobs within 50 miles, and you'll get a longer list. But again, you can manipulate these tools in order to provide you a list that meets your needs. This is what we kind of call an example of a traditional, I kind of use the word reactive search. This is how you can find jobs that you can react to, jobs that are open and waiting for someone to apply, to react to them. Reactive job search is traditional. It works, but it's not the only way to find work. I want to introduce you to another concept, and I refer to this as a proactive technique. Now, what are the differences? Well, reactive involves you looking and waiting. And then when you see something, you react to it. Like when you see a job on the internet that interests you, you can apply to it. That's reactive. Proactive is where you are not guided just by the openings on the internet, but you are actually searching for opportunities that may not be on the internet yet. They may not actually be posted anywhere. And believe it or not, there's plenty of jobs that are not posted waiting to find the right person, or for the right person to find them. It takes a little more effort. You have to be a little bit more ingenuity, show a little bit more ingenuity, perhaps a little bit more determination, and a little more patience, but that can be done. So let's talk about how to do that. Now, you can utilize, there's some databases that are out there that can help you learn about companies and help you to identify what kind of companies maybe are out there and who may have openings. So a database for a company called Hoovers is already built into the Career Workspace website that you have access to. And LinkedIn can also be considered a database that you can use to do research. And there's others. I want to throw out the word Glassdoor.com is a website that's a marvelous research tool for you while you're in a job search mode. Another resource for research is a place called the ONET. Stands for Occupational Information Network. But that's a government database that describes in great detail over 950 jobs out there in the marketplace. Well, you need to have resources in order for you to be more intelligent in your search, because these resources are useful for finding out details maybe on one single company, such as what the company's about, what they do, an overview of who they are, what they're about, who some of their top executives are, who are their competitors, where are they located, and where some subsidiaries that they may also own. What is their financial picture? Not in great detail, but just a bit of an overview. What are they about? What's their goal? What's their mission statement? These things may help you to identify the companies that you really do want to work for, that are really going to give you a good chance to be successful. Now, there's more things too. So let me suggest that there's another tool built in. We're going to jump over and look at that here in a moment. We looked at the Jobs button a moment ago. Now there's another button right next to it called the Organizations button, and I'll show you that in a second. But what you can do there, you can look up in the database about any particular company to find out details about it, including locations. Especially useful when you're preparing to go on an interview with a company that you may need to do some research on. You can even then create a list of companies that you want to target. A target list is a marvelous technique for a proactive job search. Again, you're not limited by who has openings. You instead are identifying who does the work I want to do, or who is the kind of organization I want to affiliate with, or who's located close to where my home is, or who's financially stable, who's growing. Whatever your criteria is, you can create a list of a handful of companies. We suggest 10 to 20 to get started, and then have your focus be on developing knowledge about that company and their opportunities, as well as developing network contacts affiliated with, or actually perhaps inside that company, and how then to have that network help you to unearth opportunities which may not yet be posted anywhere. That's how the game is played a little bit. So that's a more proactive search. And you can also learn things like what job titles that your particular company uses that may be different from what other companies use. So that can help you to focus in and narrow down your salary search information or whatever. Now let me show you how this works. I'm going to toggle back over to the Career Workspace site again. Go back to the top, and go back to the dashboard. By the way, clicking on the word Workspace automatically brings you back to the dashboard from wherever you may be in the Career Workspace. And where I looked here for jobs to begin with, now I'm going to click on this word Organizations. And that's going to bring up another page. And it's a little slow this afternoon. There we go. And so this is where I can type in the name of a company that I'm curious about. Now, for demonstration here, I'm going to use the name of a company that's nearby where I live, but a company that I've been a customer of for years, and I know a little bit about it, and I have a high degree of respect for. And it's a company called The Container Store. I don't know if you've ever heard of The Container Store. It's a retail store that sells boxes and organization tools and shelving and all kinds of things to organize your kitchen or your bedroom or your closets or your garage or your bathrooms or whatever. It's just amazing the kinds of little gadgets that they have that can help save you time and money. So that's a store that I'm interested in, and I want to see, I'm going to tap into the database, the Hoovers database, which, by the way, is a division. Hoovers is a business intelligence company that is a part of the Dun & Bradstreet organization, which is a big player on Wall Street and has been for many years. And they gather business intelligence about all kinds of companies and then sell that information to investors or competitors or salespeople or marketing executives or people who do research. They sell data, they sell information. Well, we have subscribed to their database. You don't have to pay for that, by the way, we are. But you have access to it here through this organization lookup. So let's see what the Hoovers has on The Container Store. So I'm going to just type in their name and click search. And it's taking a little longer. There we go. Now I have the results. There's 67 locations that Hoover's has for the Container Store. And if you look down here, you see some of the, you can see their address, what city they're in, state, country, what kind of location that is. And so they have 2 headquarters locations, both in Coppell on Freeport Parkway, when that's not very far from where I live at all. It shows how many annual sales each location has, and so the bigger numbers indicates the headquarters office. These other locations perhaps are actual stores, retail stores in various places around the country. Well, I don't need to know about that. I want to know about the headquarters and how many employees they have there and how many employees in that location. Here's the bigger one. So I'm going to click on the one with the most employees in that location, and that's the second listing here. I'm going to click on that to see what kind of information Hoover's has about the Container Store. And here is their dossier, their file, so to speak. Here's their address, their headquarters location, there's their phone number, fax number, website. These are categorization, industry categorization numbers you don't need to worry about, but there's 500 people in that office, 4,000 around the country. It was founded in '78. Here's a little bit of a, well, this one doesn't have much information about it. Sometimes even shows you on the map where they're located. That's pretty close to, that location is pretty accurate. Sometimes the maps are not always accurate. But notice these buttons here. See, I can click on financials. Okay, you know what? I realize this now. I'm going to step back for a second and click on that other Container Store item, because it has more details than what I'm seeing here. So under organize, let me just start over here. The Container Store. Thank you for your patience while I correct myself here. Okay, so I clicked on the big, but I think the Container Store group has the better example of the information that's available for us to see. Okay, so I'm going to click on financials. And here we go. Now we start seeing some of the colorful bars that indicate their, ooh, look at this. Quarterly income kind of fell off the table after the summer, didn't it? I wonder why that is. Does that mean that's not a good company to go to work for? Well, I don't know that. Looks like all their other numbers are pretty stable. However, this is information that you may not have unless you have access to something like this. What about their people? Who do they? Oh, no, wait a second. What about executives? Yeah, what information do they have on certain people who work there? Melissa Reef and William Tyndall or Sharon Tyndall, and guess what? That's father-daughter. It's a publicly traded company, but it was founded as a family business. And I can find out about Chip Tyndall. His nickname is Chip. I happen to know that. Click on his name, and here's a bit of a biography about him. And here's his phone number, and his age, and his most recent title, and his salary for the last reported salary that they have here. Okay, and his salary history. He's not hurting, but he's not making some of the money that other big CEOs are making either. This is just important information for me to have. Okay, I'm going to go back again to the original listing. I could also look and see who their competitors are. Click on competitor. This is all, again, and you see the logo at the bottom of the page. This is Hoover's down here. This is the database. We're already into the Hoover's database, and we're looking at their results. Here, all these companies that are considered their competitors, some of which are not top competitors. If I go over here and click on top competitor, it will reorganize the list and bring the top ones. There we go. So the top 3 competitors are Walmart, Bed Bath & Beyond, and Euromarket Designs. Me knowing that just might be the sort of thing that I could drop into the conversation during an interview that could really impress somebody that I'm on top of things. Who knows? I could pull up news. What kind of news is circulating on the internet that mentions or talks about the Container Store? I apologize. This box is popping up. That's an annoyance, but you may not see that. Looks like they've opened a new store in Livingston, New Jersey, and Melissa Reef is talking and been interviewed by something called Real Points over here. So this is just a marvelous amount of information. Also, what jobs they may have, and if I like this company and I want to have it as a targeted company that I want to learn more about and follow on a regular basis, I want to hit the word save. Now, I've already done that for the Container Store, but once I hit the save there. Then if I go back to the dashboard, you'll see these news boxes will be populated. And then you'll see in a moment the news will there it goes. It rotates around. What it's doing, it's bringing little headlines from news that is gathered, not just for anybody though, for the companies that I'm following, that I've saved, that I've targeted as, or I've indicated to be a target company. So that whenever I sign into Career Workspace, I could spend a few moments just kind of seeing what's going on with maybe not just the Container Store. I may be following other companies as well, and I'm also following a few others that are here. But that helps you to stay engaged and in touch and familiar with and aware of business news that may impact the companies that you would like to go to work for. And the more you know about the companies you want to go to work for, the better you can be present yourself as a qualified quality candidate. So that is one of the things you can do. Now let's go back to the slide program because I want to talk a little bit more about these target lists. It's critical. I would suggest, and I think my colleagues would agree, that having a target list of companies that you would want to go to work for or that match your desires for whatever the industry or whatever the work kind of situation is, that's a critical part to a successful modern job search, but many people don't ever think about doing it. So define your target companies by maybe who the top employers are in your area, or who may have a lot of recent job postings out there. You see a lot of activity if you're searching the internet. Maybe that's a sign that there's growth happening within a company. Maybe whatever statistics as far as financial or numbers or whatever you're judging by. With demographics, the kinds of people who work there or the kind of customers that that company serves. You can identify by all kinds of different and also by location. Zip code and area code, county, city, or state, how far away from your home. Again, commuting is a thing that many people did not ever consider when taking a job, but enough of us probably have commuted too far that when we have a choice now, we may not want to commute very far in our next ideal job. And that's a good idea. But you can identify target lists by just what word of mouth you hear around town or around within your network of the companies that are doing it right, the companies who are promoting people well or treating their people well, whatever your criteria is. Maybe it's you've had past experience with them, or maybe you are currently a customer and have been in the past, such as with me in Container Store. And maybe you've just heard good things about them. Maybe you know people who work there and they're always talking about how great it is to work there, and that might be enough to make that company be added to your target list. There's also, every year, Forbes magazine publishes the results of a survey titled The Top 100 Companies to Work For in America. That's been around for years. You can get that, by the way, you can access that list anytime by going to Forbes.com and searching for top 100 companies. What is interesting, though, is that concept is now being shrunk down and is being utilized by a lot of metropolitan area newspapers or business journals, where they'll publish their own top 100 list of companies to work for in Dallas-Fort Worth, for example, or in Atlanta or in Chicago, wherever you may be. So there's all kinds of resources that you can draw from in order to target your target list. So where are your companies located? Do you know what subsidiaries? These are the kinds of things that you learn about a target company that can help really make you a more educated job seeker. Okay, so let's start talking about looking outside of our target list, but exploring some job sites. Now, you're familiar with a lot of the regular ones, perhaps, but you may not know that there are some specialized job sites, also known as niche, or some people pronounce that word niche. Well, that means there's just a limited audience to that group. For example, there is a website known as DICE, D-I-C-E, like what you gamble with. And DICE specializes, it is a job board, but they specialize in IT jobs. So if you're an accountant or if you're construction, whatever, DICE is not going to be someplace where you're going to find any jobs. But if you are a programmer or a hardware analyst or a repair person or whatever, if you're in the IT world, DICE may be where you're going to find more opportunities, maybe even certain opportunities that are not posted anywhere else. Because just like with a fisherman, you're going to go to your honey hole wherever you can find the best fish, the easiest. Employers think the same way. They're going to go to wherever they can find the best candidates the easiest. And quite often it's these niche sites. So if you have a profession, or if you have a desire to work in a job where, there may be some sort of a niche site that's worth looking into. There may be also field-specific sites for accounting or for human resources. And this is often tied to professional associations. For example, in my field of career development, that's under the umbrella of the profession of human resources. And there is a professional association for human resources called SHRM. That's an acronym, SHRM, that stands for the Society for Human Resource Management. Well, SHRM has a website where they put information about various things in the world of human resources, including their training and certification programs and their workshops and their conventions and white papers and all sorts of great stuff. They also have a list of human resource jobs that is posted on their site. Now, it's not an employer site, it's a professional association site, but specific to the field of human resources. And again, a lot of companies who look for recruiters or look for payroll analysts or look for compensation people or benefits, whatever, they may not go to Monster, Career Builder, Indeed. They may instead go to the SHRM site because they know that professionals with experience in that area are looking on those sites. So if you have the kind of specialty, you may want to be looking on those sites also. Now, of course, you're probably familiar with the general sites, and these are very, very broad. Things like Career Builder, Indeed, Monster. There are a lot of them. They're out there. Some people are predicting that their future is kind of dark, however, because so many employers have become kind of fallen in love with LinkedIn as a site to find candidates. And LinkedIn is not a traditional job board, of course. It's a social networking site, but it does have a jobs component to it. And as a matter of fact, though, an employer could go to LinkedIn, ask for and do a search of the people who are members of LinkedIn and look for certain degrees and look for certain titles, look for certain certifications, look for certain skill sets, look for certain backgrounds or whatever, and then have LinkedIn search its members and find those things within their members and bring a list of people with all those things. Just like what we're doing with our job search a moment ago, that's done by companies in reverse through LinkedIn. And then they get a list of candidates, many of whom are employed and not seeking, but frankly, the employer doesn't care. If the person is in the right area with the right skill set, I may want to steal them from their current employer. And you may have had a call from a recruiter or a headhunter perhaps in the past. Often today that they're finding your name but on LinkedIn. If you are on LinkedIn and if you are visible on LinkedIn. If you're not on LinkedIn and that's where the employers are going to find talent, you're missing out. If you are on LinkedIn but you only have a basic profile and really don't go there and you're not active in LinkedIn and you don't really connect with many people, well, you may show up on someone's list, but you may be number 500 on a list. And frankly, when LinkedIn gives a list to an employer looking for candidates, rarely does that employer have to go down past the top 10, 15 names before they get a real good handful of good candidates that they can interview and select from. And if 500 is where your name is, you're never going to get a notice, even though if you do show up on the list. So anyway, these are alternatives to. And so social media sites such as LinkedIn, Twitter is getting into the game as well. I hear Facebook is trying to become a player in the jobs marketplace. The game is changing, my friend, so you need to kind of stay on top of things. And of course, job sites can also be the companies that you're targeting have their own websites, and almost every company's website has a careers section or a jobs section or work with us section. It can be called a number of things where they will show their current openings and you can apply online. You can also just get into their system so where you can receive notices of new jobs that are posted by that company before everybody else sees it. So there's all kinds of places that you can go. But you want to cast a wider net. You just don't want to rely on the internet itself. That's easy. That's the way you can do it fairly quickly and efficiently, but that's not the only way to do it. So let's talk about some more creative methods for job search. Okay, so there's all kinds of information that can help lead you to an opening that you may not have found anywhere else. You may have to do some research. You may want to look for the newspaper. Now, it says newspapers online. I'm old enough to remember, I don't want to say how old I am, but I was born in another century. I'll leave it at that. I'm old enough to remember when the Sunday newspaper was huge. And a part of the reason it was huge, there was a lot of circulars and advertisements that were stuffed into the Sunday paper. But also, the Sunday paper was full of want ads, because that is where, before the internet came along, that's where the companies advertised for employees most effectively, by putting lots and lots of job ads in the newspaper that would show up every day, but especially show up on Sundays. You may not remember that. It depends upon your age, but the newspapers still do advertise jobs. They just kind of have fallen in disrepair because they're not as prevalent. The actual newspaper is not as prevalent, and there's so many other alternative sites where people can find jobs. However, and here's the caveat, online newspapers also give you great information about the business community in your area, who's being hired, who's coming to town, who's gotten promoted, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We list the Wall Street Journal here as an example. Of course, that's a major nationwide newspaper that focuses on the business community specifically. But if you go online to the Wall Street Journal and you search for careers, they have a marvelous careers section where authors are writing advice and things that can help you stay on top of the job search game, as well as where you can find jobs there. But again, so you can look at newspapers and find out things. Each local community, not each, but many major metropolitan areas have business journals. Like here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, there's a Dallas Business Journal, and there is a Fort Worth Business Journal. And it only focuses on the business community in those areas, not nationwide, just what's going on in the immediate area. There are also trade journals. If I belong to the Society for Human Resources Management, every month they put out a bulletin or a journal that could have latest and greatest information about that industry in them. Those are great places for information. Again, I talked about the professional associations. By the way, those are marvelous networking opportunities to be a part of a professional association. And of course, many of them charge fees, but you know what? You can call up a local chapter of a professional association, say you have an interest in the group, and would there be any way you could contribute by volunteering at an event to take registration or to hand out materials or packets or whatever? And I would be surprised if they wouldn't fall all over themselves to accept your offer of assistance. Employment agencies, state offices. Here in Texas, it's called the Texas Workforce Commission. Every state has a different group, but there's people who are employed by the state whose job it is to help unemployed people in that state find work. Well, employers utilize that because the state will pay an employer a fee if the employer advertises a job with the state that ultimately hires a state resident. I mean, that's part of what government does, is to incentivize businesses of hiring local people, and that's how it happens. Well, you can find out about that through your local employment agency. Not to mention, that's where you can also file for unemployment. And if you've not done that yet, if you've been separated from your job and you haven't filed for unemployment, you might want to think about doing that. It's your money. It's been there. It's not a handout. It's not welfare. It's money's been put aside from every paycheck you've ever received that goes into your unemployment fund for times like this, when you are in between jobs. And so, I suggest that you not let pride, or vanity kind of keep you from that resource. It's your money already. But you would go through the agency. Now, career fairs are an interesting thing, or job fairs as they're called. And again, you may not have these in smaller communities, but in larger cities or metropolitan areas, there are probably multiple job fairs every week that you could go to. And a job fair is kind of a unique animal. It's where employers who are looking for people go into a facility, have a table, hand out things, and interview people who are walking by. And candidates then go to the same place and start looking at all the companies and talk with people about the jobs they have. Quite a few of them result in on-site interviews, not all of them. But at least it's a place where employers and potential employees can meet and talk with one another. By the way, we have a document in our library about job fairs that kind of gives you some tips about what to do and what not to do, and how to figure out the right way to approach a job fair. So you might want to look into that. Okay, so oh yeah, don't forget the chambers of commerce. Also, groups in a community who are devoted to encouraging and enhancing the business community in that area. All kinds of resources, all kinds of networking events, happy hours, um, symposiums, training programs, speeches, luncheons, all sorts of things. You don't necessarily always have to be a member of the chamber to attend some of these things, though. But if you go to places where people are involved in the chamber, those are employed people that you're going to be rubbing shoulders with. You need to understand about keywords as well. You need to be listening and paying attention to things that you see, because the words that are used in today's job market may be slightly different than the words that were being used the last time you were looking for work. And unfortunately, with all the automation that's involved, quite often when somebody is looking for you, they're looking for certain keywords in your resume. And if those words are not there, or old keywords are there that they're no longer looking for, they may pass you by. So look for keywords. Look at job postings or professional association sites, industry newspapers, and then look for your targeted companies. Pay attention to what's on their website or what's on their PR releases, or what sorts of words show up in their postings on their own company job boards. But look for those keywords and then use those keywords in your resume. Use them in your cover letters or any follow-up letters you may have. Use them in your LinkedIn profile. Because unfortunately, the job search oftentimes focuses on keywords get the attention, and those who don't use the right keywords don't get the attention. So do you know what the keywords are that your companies that you're targeting are using? Do you know where all their locations are? There's research to be done. Think about the hidden jobs, and if you haven't yet, I would suggest you search for the phrase hidden job market and see what comes up. That's a reality, and that is where jobs are available that have not yet been put on the internet, but that the employer who has the job utilizes other alternative sources to find the candidates rather than the internet. They may incentivize a program within the employees of their company to bring forward candidates for the new job. So it's kind of held in-house, so to speak. And if the person you refer to the company is hired, you might get a bonus. I was at a company once, and they were giving away iPads if you were to recommend someone who was hired for a particular position the company was looking for. Those jobs that were filled never got advertised anywhere. They were hidden jobs. So you maybe see some certain kinds of jobs that catch your eye that you didn't expect to find. Maybe you come across some new keywords. Maybe you use those keywords to create a new job search like I demonstrated earlier, and see what kind of job titles pop up and which ones of those might be appropriate for you to explore. Again, casting a wider net. Obviously, you do a deep job search, you have to fish, you have to go deep sometimes to find your treasure, because maybe the fish you're looking for really doesn't swim around in shallow water. Going back to that fishing analogy. One more thing then, you can also look for people. I want to jump over to the Career Workspace site once more, and on the dashboard, the button that says People here, there are 4 different things here. CRM is a client resource management tool. That's like something like you might have found with a salesperson, something called Salesforce.com. There's all kinds of programs that salespeople can use to manage and control their list of prospects. Well, you can use this tool to manage your list of contacts that you have during your job search. And if I click on that, it shows you an alphabetical list of buttons. You can add new contacts. For example, if you meet someone at a Chamber of Commerce event and you collect a business card, rather than just hang on that business card, you can put that into this system. You can put the person's name and their title and their company and their address and website, et cetera, their business location, some information about notes about what you may have talked to them about, when they're going to, who they know, who they might introduce you to, what they know, or what they shared with you about the job that's posted, whatever it might be. And then you could save that into the system here, and that becomes then part of your own address book. These buttons here suggest contacts that you've met that you've put into the system. So you can manage people that way. I'm going to go back up to the word people and show you some. You can also tap into the Hoover's database and see who do you know who works for a certain company. And we said the Container Store. Let's try another company. Let's try another. One of my target companies is Southwest Airlines. It's another locally Dallas-based company that I have on my radar. So I'm going to search for people. I'm in the people section now, not in the organization section. I could have searched for Southwest Airlines and found similar information than what I found with Container Store a moment ago. But now I'm looking for people. And so Hoover's has a dossier, if you will, on 183 different people somehow related to Southwest Airlines. And if I type on the word name here, they should be alphabetized by first name. And I can scroll down and see, I can see their titles. I can see their name. And if I want to look more about them, I can click on Save. Let's see if I run across somebody. Oh, I know Cheryl Hughley. She's a director of compensation. I'm going to click on her name. And here comes her file. It gives me her phone number, her title, how long she's been in that role. Doesn't tell me her salary. That's not available for everybody like it was for Chip Tyndall at the Container Store. It may, some people have more information in their file than others do. But at least here's Cheryl's phone number. You know, my goodness. That doesn't mean that you should call up everybody that you find here, but still, this is pretty neat to have access to phone numbers like this. You can also use this tool to find recruiters if you have a certain special kind of profession that is hard to find and recruiters are looking for you. You may want to reach out and find the recruiters and let them know you're looking so that they can be an asset to your job search. And venture capitalists can also be found. And if you are familiar with the TV series Shark Tank, that's what venture capitalists are, people who have money and are willing to invest in new businesses or new ideas if it makes sense to them and they get a piece of the action. Well, you can find venture capitalists if, in fact, you've got a great idea for a new business, but you just need some seed money to get it started. Okay, well, let's go back to the presentation because we're ready to wrap up. There are all kinds of fish in the sea, but just like fishing, you need to be creative and experiment with different research methods in order to find the fish that is your best fit job. So don't just limit yourself to the same search selectors or the same technique. If you're only searching on Indeed.com, for example, or if you're only limiting your search to online job boards like Indeed or Monster or Career Builder, you may not get what you're looking for. You may need to cast a personalized net. So do some research with places like Hoover's and LinkedIn to identify other companies, create a target list and do research on those companies, and then find people in those companies who can share more information with you. By the way, a target list is not cast in stone. If you have 5 companies on your list, your research you may do on them may uncover things that let you leave off 3 or 4 of those. So your list could grow and shrink as you know more information and as you hear more feedback from people. It's a living thing. And when you research new opportunities, be creative. Vary your job search by trying a number of the different methods that we've talked about today. Well, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. It's our presentation. I hope this has given you some ideas about how to use our online system or how to branch out and spread a wider net for your job search fishing. It's been our pleasure to host this webinar for you. If you have any questions, of course, this is a recording and I cannot look at or answer your questions, but we are interested in your questions. So if you do have some questions that you would like for us to follow up on, my first recommendation would be to reach out to your consultant. If you have one assigned to you, reach out to your assigned consultant and have a discussion with them about that question. Or you also could send that question to us at www.careermp.com, and we will get back with you or at least try to answer that question. But your first choice probably would be to go through your consultant. It's been my pleasure to be your host. My name is Brian Allen. Hope to see you at another webinar soon. This has been a presentation of Career Management Partners. We wish you the best of luck with fishing for your job search and hope to see you at another webinar soon. Thank you and goodbye.